something your organization does in order to protect them?
Are you speaking about the local journalists who are, the Sudanese journalists and the journalists, or do you say foreign
I
journalists?
think the international journalists who go to another place to discover.
Well, the way that we did it when I worked at USA Today was to be very open about reporting in the country and not to sneak in from Chad, which is what a lot of people did. And we had a reporter who wanted to go, and he wanted to go through Chad, and I gave him a pushback, and I said, the thing to do, having worked in the Soviet Union, is just to be very open about what you're doing. That's one way to protect yourself, as long as the government knows what you're doing. We actually hosted the Sudanese ambassador for lunch, and he gave us a big speech about how everything is just fine in Darfur and why are we all worried about it. And he said, you should come and visit. And I said, when can we have a visa? And he was on the spot, so he had to give us a visa. That was the first step. And then we sent a reporter in through official channels, and they worked with NGOs to get down to Darfur. But it was all in the open, all the reporting was in the open. The issue for there, in terms of protecting the journalists, was that it's not that safe in Darfur, of course. It's horribly unsafe. And so the key problem is, can you go to a refugee camp, or can you go out of a refugee camp without being attacked? Did you see the post this morning? I knew about USA Today. I don't know if they had it in there, but peacekeepers were attacked and killed in Sudan. So it's just a very unsafe environment, and there's almost no way that you can protect yourself from those unexpected attacks. That's one of the key issues. But I've always felt that being very open about what you're doing is one of the important things for reporters to do. Yes?
What would you say is the country that's been the hardest to support free press, and which country has made the most proportionally the most progress in making free press?
That's a good question. Made the most progress. I think I can answer both questions with one country, and that is China. China's made an enormous amount of progress, especially after the earthquake, and everybody was amazed at how open they were in addressing that problem. Of course, humanitarian issues are easier to address than human rights problems. Humanitarian problems are human rights problems, but it's a different kind of human rights problem. So on the one hand, that was an unusual opening of the Chinese society to foreigners. On the other hand, again, they are cracking down on journalists left and right ahead of the Olympics because they don't want their image to be marred. And so it's a double-edged sword there. There's been a lot of progress there on the one hand, and we are working there. Our funder, actually, one of the people who's in our foundation, at the Knight Foundation, doesn't think that China's a good place for us to work because of all the constraints on the press. But the feeling is that again, this is like the sports example, if you go in through business journalism, which the Chinese are very interested in, is just another avenue to teach best practices and get people to understand how to be a really good reporter, and hopefully that will spread. It's a form of engagement. Some people believe in engagement, some don't. It's like diplomacy.
There are reliable for the program. How to choose them?
Okay. We have very specific criteria, and they include, is there an opportunity that makes it worthwhile to go there? In other words, for those of you who are studying journalism or working in journalism in your schools, is there a news peg? Will there be an election? And so is there an opportunity to help to develop better, more accurate, balanced election coverage? And we know that, for example, in Kenya, there's a rumor that the government is going to try to shut down the local language radio stations out in the rural areas. And the reason is that they feel that they incited people to violence, which is what happened in Rwanda as well. And so, having balanced news about election is really key in countries where, politically motivated reporting can mean the difference between 1,000 people dying or not. So that's the kind of thing that we look for, and we also look for opportunities to sustain independent media in a country where they've never had sustainable before. For digital media, that there's an opportunity to create a digital media platform. We have a great program in Guatemala. Our fellow there, Maria Martin, who is the founder of Latino USA for NPR, she's down there working with indigenous rural journalists, teaching them how to do radio reporting. And she's holding a big session this month in the Capitol, bringing them all together, showing them how to upload their stories onto the internet. We've created a platform with some partners, local partners there, and they're going to share content so that the rural indigenous people are going to have news from all over the country. And eventually we'd like to share that with Guatemalan immigrants in the United States. So, I mean, that's a fabulous opportunity as well. What else do we decide? Can we work with it? Have we worked with it before, and can we build on our success? Is there a strong local partner to do the job, to help us do the job there? So these are some of the things that we consider. But the key thing is that can we make a difference? If we can't make a difference, there's so much need around the world that we're not going to go someplace where we really can't make a difference.